Hi everyone, it's Denise with Wondubar Crafts. I'm back to try and finish up on this Oh the Joy um, little snowman wall hanging for my sister. I want to try and get it done and get it mailed out this week to her. Um, so the last video we sewed on the little snowman and his little arms. And then the next step was to trace, and I don't have a light box yet. It's on its way. Yeah, kind of like the ruler that, yeah, I won't even get started with that. Okay. But my wool was not this length that came with the pack. Of course, if you buy it, you could. And then you could just trace onto, because you'll need fusible webbing or heat and bond. It's, it looks like tracing paper on one side, and then it has the, I don't know if you can see that. That's like it's a webbing coated underneath there that when you iron it from the top, it sticks to the fabric. Then so what I had to do was cut my pieces out, then trace them onto the paper, or I could have traced here, but whatever. And then iron them. I went ahead and ironed them onto my wool. Now make sure if you do this, put your iron on a medium setting. If your iron has a wool setting, use it. If not, put it on about medium, because you don't want high heat on it because it will shrink the wool. Okay. So now what I need to do is cut these pieces out, and then it says to blanket stitch them on, and then we will do the mouth and stuff. But I think you guys have seen me, but I think I did a blanket stitch on the last, so I may just go ahead and get these done because I really need to get this thing finished. But if you are, you can go back to the last video. I did blanket stitch, and then yeah, I did the blanket stitch for that. So okay, there's his nose right there, and this is his scarf, and I'll have to take it over to the ironing board and iron it in place. It says cut just outside that line, so I'm trying to get it as close to, but not on the paper line. There we go, one. And then you can use the template or whatever, if you went and got the pattern for this. To make the scarf, or how to, set it on the snowman. Not quite round, it looks like an egg. So let's see, this piece I believe is going to go here. Like so. How is everyone doing? Today is a beautiful Sunday. Sun is shining. I think it's supposed to get to 61 today. I think tomorrow we're supposed to get like 64, and then I think the same thing over the next couple of days, and I think Wednesday we're supposed to get rain. and possibly Thursday, which is really going to stink because that's supposed to be the day they're delivering my table. So I'm trying to get all this done. I'll probably pre-record quite a few of my videos today. I am starting 2 journals. Actually, one is commissioned and the other one I'm doing just to kind of show a different variation from Crafty Cat's fabric journal. So I'll be starting on it. I took almost all day yesterday to figure out how and what I wanted to do and plan it out as to the steps. You know, what I sew first, what I sew second, that kind of thing. So okay, so I think it's going to go like this, but I think what we have to do is so like iron each piece on there separate. So let me go take this over. I'll take my little diagram here and see if we can't get it to line up as best as possible, and I will be right back. Okay, so here, oop, watch out. I got Ubers it underneath my feet, trying to scooch up with my chair, and they're right there and get run over. Move out the way. So, okay, so essentially what you do is, like I said, you cut your pieces out, you pull the paper piece off the back after you iron it on there, and then you cut your pieces, then you have that sticky part. Sometimes, see, I had originally water facing, and I don't know what I was thinking because I have a ton of heat and bond, but I typically use light heat and bond because when I use it for like making my snippet rolls and stuff like that, I'm using lightweight cotton. I don't have any heavy, so it's still stuck, but it didn't really tack down very well. So what I did was I put a little bit. I mean, I'm talking like a little droplet behind it, and then put it down with the iron. And, and I did not increase my iron heat because I didn't want to shrink the wool or burn it. And I just left it on there and let it sit, and then it adhered enough for me to be able to stitch it, because that's essentially what you're doing. You're not going to leave it like this. You're going to stitch it to secure it. So it says to do blanket stitching. So find my needle here, and I'll do the nose and show you one more time. But then I'm going to turn off the camera and get that done so we can get moving, because then we got to make the mouth. So what I'll probably do is this, and then make our mouth, because we're going to use the stem stitch for that. And then I think then we put our little buttons on, and I can do that on camera. And then once that is done, we're going to layer everything, and I will show you how I use that tag gun to and some of you who do quilt already or have done this probably already know how to use that. All right, this one calls for 2 strands, not 3. I think it's because we're going through the wool. And so, and I changed my color on this. It called for like the 902. I changed it to the 221 for that because I had very little left, but this color is very close, so I changed it to 221. But it did call for, I think, 902, but I don't have very much, and I forgot to grab it when I was at Hobby Lobby because I was buying other stuff for the giveaway, which if you guys have not checked out the video for the giveaway, I have 6 items that I'm giving away, 6 different ones that I'll be pulling on Black Friday throughout the day. I do not shop on Black Friday. That's a no, and no. I did it when I was much younger, but I ain't doing it now. All right, over and up. Okay, so we pulled our thread through. We're going to do about a stitch over and then up to put that through. I think I want to make it a little bit shorter. Okay, and leaving a loop, I'm going to come this loop down. I'm going to put my needle right below vertically, across or down, depending on which direction you're looking, right underneath it. So you come stitch length down, stitch length up, put your needle through there, right? And then when you're going to put it back, you leave a loop, right? And then come up a stitch length down, that one stitch length over from the original. And when you do that, it makes this pretty little L, and it secures it. So once again, one stitch length over, one stitch length up. Really what you could do is just measure a stitch length from there. But as a beginner, it's best to know that you do a stitch length. How big is a stitch length? It varies. Some people, it depends also on the project that you're doing, the size of the piece. If you're doing something large, you can make your stitch larger. Typically, I do my stitch length about a quarter of an inch for typical applique when I'm doing that. So, and you can measure it if you want, if you're wanting to, but the more you do it, the better you will get at it. So if your little loop goes wherever, just make sure the loop goes below the needle, so that when you pull it up, it grabs it like that. See, and by putting my stitch on the outside of the other side here, it kind of outlines my pattern, which is what I want it to do. You can do it inside if you want, but most of the time with applique, you want to make it, so that it secures your piece. There. And, most of the embroidery I've ever done, I do it in a hoop, but I don't want to hoop and unhoop, hoop and unhoop, so I'm doing it by hand. But that is the blanket stitch again. So let me pause. I'm going to finish up this, and then I'm just going to do a rope stitch there to do, or a stem stitch to do the smile on him, and then I will be back. Okay, so we, let's see, I sewed on the nose and the scarf and did the smiley face. Now I need to put these itty bitty little buttons on. And so I thought, hopefully that won't take but a minute. We hope, right? We hope. So I think what I want to do is put 3 little dots there, so I know where to kind of sew them, right? Like kind of align them a little bit, yeah. Maybe. I think I might do a blue, since I can hide it with the button fairly easy. Right there. There. And there. Okay. Oh boy. All right. So let's make sure our needle will go through the hole here. It will not, so I need to find a smaller needle. Ibby. Yes, I put my glasses on too. Which means I think I'm going to have to go down to a single thread on that. Make sure our needle will go through. It does. All right, so changing needles. And I think I'm going to just do one strand. It doesn't say to use 2 strands. I just had it already there. Take off my knot. And let's see if I can get this thing in that little itty bitty hole. There we go. Look at that. First try. But only because I'm wearing my glasses. If I wear contacts and they have bifocals in the contact. But sometimes it's just, you need that extra, Okay, so I just knotted the end of my thread and I'm just going to sew the button on. I mean, pretty simple, right? We hope. Oh my goodness. Get in the hole. Okay. And then let's make sure. Yeah, that's where I want it. So now I'm going to poke it back through. Try and get it back through anyway. The same size, same size. And I'm thinking 3 or 4, 3 or 4 loop throughs should be sufficient to hold them on there. There's 3. Let's do one more for good measure, right? Okay. And I think what I want to do is tie this off, because if she ever bumps it or moves it, and it's easier to replace and put one back on than it is going to be to try and get all 3. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to knot it off, but I'm not going to cut it. See? Then I'm going to come down here. Hopefully that sometimes when you work with that single thread, man, all it takes is just one little twist and you knot it all up, right? Okay. And it took me about an hour and a half. I did stop for lunch. So it took me about an hour and a half to get that done. Sewing that scarf in the nose and the mouth didn't take too long, really. Okay, and there's 2. And 3. And 4 for good measure, right? All right. Once again, I can see the thread. Knot it off here. And the last one. We don't need to worry about trying to get the ink off there. It's covered with the button. But I will say, if you ever struggle, because you know those, it's supposed to be, you're supposed to be able to use water and it disappears. Or it's, you know, you can mark it and it, but if you let it sit too long, sometimes the mark does not come off as great, which I found with because I had marked my pieces and left them for a bit, and so I had to use some dishwashing soap. Some people say Dawn works best, but I use Ajax, and it worked just fine. Just a little bit of Ajax with water, and just rub it and then let it dry naturally. It's 2, right? 2. 2. All right, 3. I don't like these little needles because they hurt my fingers. Trying to grab them. And 4. And we can tie that off. And we are done with that portion. I think all that applique stuff is done. Yay. That's why I like using my machine to do it. So, okay. I do believe that's everything. And so now what we need to do is I'm going to iron it out a little bit. Just kind of smooth it out, all the wrinkles and everything. And then I'm going to take and lay this. I'm going to take out, actually I'm going to lay my piece down onto my backing. Then I'm going to take that little gun and put a couple pieces in here and then take these out, okay? And then I can smooth it as I'm going, and I'll show you how that's done. So let me get this ironed out, and I'll grab all the supplies I need to back it. All right, so I ironed out my top. Here's the fat quarter for my back. All right, so I'm going to make sure it's facing upwards, so the back side, or the wrong side, is facing up. And then I'm going to turn this sideways so that you can see the whole, or the majority of it. If I do it the other direction, it won't fit, but should just fit on there. Just kind of smooth it out. Make sure that your backing is smooth. Okay, so this is the little gun that I'm talking about. You may notice some of the department stores probably have a much bigger one, but this one's for quilting, and I think it's made by Clover. Let me see. Yeah, I bought it because or it's Dritz Quilting. And I had put it in a drawer for safekeeping because I remember I lost my other one. I can't find it. It'll show up here now that I've, found this one, and, but I couldn't find it. I spent 15 minutes looking for it. Anyway, so you can buy these packs extra, but when you buy the original gun, they come with, like, I think 50 or 100 of them or something. So it looks like a T or a, you know, a T with another cross in it. So what you're going to do is, where this long T is and this little piece, that's where that little T goes, right in there. You just push it down. Then you pull the cap off the needle. This is a needle lever. You turn it to release the needle because you can buy a new needle if it doesn't get sharp. But there's a little slit in this needle right here, which allows this to push through. So what I want to do is start kind of in the middle. All right. So I'll put one right here. Just poke it through and pull my trigger. And it should have pushed it all the way through. It's the first one, so I'm going to try it again. Poke it through, trigger, pull it out, and now you have kind of like the tag. So, all right, so then, now there are little blocks that you can get. Don't know where mine is. It's a big square plastic piece that has holes all through it so that you can lay it under and it should keep it. But right now, I have no idea where it is. I still have boxes that I have not unpacked yet. So, all right. So I'm going to go up here and down here. And then I should be able to take this pin out. And the great thing about these is you can just take some small scissors and snip them right off. So, all right, go in there. Go in here. Okay. So then what you want to do is just make sure and you can go from this direction if you wanted, so that you can, because this is already pinned. Actually, I might do that, so then that way I know that this is fairly smoothed out. And then that way I can feel where my corners are here. Didn't hook it all the way through. That was my error. All the way through. And then I should be able to come over here. Make sure. Take my pin out. All right, so I am just going to go ahead and do the rest of this, and then I will come back and we are going to sew the binding, or the binding on it, and trim it down and bind it, and then we shall be done. It does say to quilted, which I might do before we do a binding. I might just go around here and then around here, and that's it. I'm not going to do anything fancy with it, so I'll be right back. Okay, so I went ahead and did all the way around. I worked from the center out. Okay, so if you look at the back side, everything's nice and smooth. All right, so yeah, it's going to look like somebody went a little crazy with the tag gun, but when you're all done, I always cover that needle because I'm notorious for poking myself. And then you just push this button and pull that out. You can store it within there, but that's how you get out the plastic piece anyway, to reload it. And then I'm now going to store it in a container and hopefully will not lose it again. Okay, so if you want, follow me over to the sewing machine. I am gonna sew. I'm just going to quilt around this and around here, and then just on the outside of that border there. Okay, I'm not going to do anything internally because after well, it says pin or base quilt is desired, and then it wants us to sew the snowflakes on before we finish. Why they didn't have us sew those on, and why I think it's just to help secure the quilt together. So, but we'll come back and do the snowflake buttons, or I'm going to sew that, and then I'll sew the snowflake buttons and show you, because it's just like doing these buttons here. And then I'll do the binding on camera and sew it all up. So, okay, so meet me over at the sewing machine. Okay, so we are now back over at the machine. Sorry if I hit that. Did I hit it too much? All right, can we still see? All right. So I'm just going to use a standard, just a straight stitch. Okay, I've got mine set in the middle, and mine does an auto walking stitch, so I have that set so that I don't need to try and do that later. So what I'm going to do is try and get it right in the ditch. And what I mean by in the ditch is that this line right here between the fabrics, that is stitching in the ditch. Okay, so I'm just going to go somewhat slow and keep it in the right in that ditch. Okay, and I've got mine set at about 4 millimeters in length, which I like when I'm quilting. See, it did that walking stitch to start off with, so it's going to lock it on the back of the quilt. You can do it the standard where you put the needle down, you pull it back up, and then pull the thread so that you can do your own locking stitch, but I really do prefer to do it on the machine. It does a really good job with it, so just going to take it slow and easy and keep it right there in that ditch. And I am not watching my needle. I am watching where my fabric is going in underneath my foot here. Okay, I'm not watching my needle go up and down. I'm watching where where that goes. And sometimes if you get these little plastic things really close, the thread will, the needle will jump right over it, and it's not a big deal because you can clip it from either direction. That's one thing I do like about it. Okay, lift my foot, turn it around. All right, it cut I gotta turn that cutter off because I had it set on auto cut, but that's okay. I'll just do a new line here, and I'm only going to go up to the snowman. I don't want to go over my snowman. Okay. Down. There we go. And same thing. I'm just going to continue this procedure all the way around and then do it again on the other side over here, and then once again over on this seam all the way around. So once I get down here to the corner, I will put you on pause to get that finished, and then I will finish that up, and I will put our little snowflake buttons on and show you that, and then go from there. All right, so I'm gonna put you guys on pause. Okay, so I just wanted to show you guys. So I used the red on the top when I went around, and then I used a light cream colored on the back so that it kind of blended well. You can see like where it knocks off here, you know, the two colors, and I like that it knocks it off for me like that. So it's awesome. But I just want to show you guys that. And then I think I'm going to take this and kind of do a guideline to, or use it as a guideline where to put my little, but I don't know if I want to use a blue underneath it because you might see it. Oh, maybe not. Maybe I'll put that like that, you know. In there kind of thing. Maybe one here. Um, like that. Something like that. Anyway. So that's probably what I'll do. So they're buttons, so I'm just going to take some white floss and sew them up. And I will be right back. Okay, so we got all of our little snowflakes sewn on, and now we're ready to put our binding on. Binding, it required that you cut a 1¼ inch two long pieces. And so essentially what you do is you take one end here, and then that's right side up, and then you square it so that you have an angle here, and then you would sew a diagonal from one tip to the next. Cut that portion off so it looks like that. So you got, your angle. You're going to cut that portion off so that you have a 1/4 inch seam, sew it open, and then voila, you have one great big piece. So I'm going to start, let's see, this side. So my sewing machine's, on this side. And I'm going to fold this down about 1.5 inches. Let's see. Is that right? There. Oh. Is that? Hold on. I'm trying to think here. So, oh no, I need it to go. We need to start it on this side over here. So that, yeah. Because this is where the edge of my sewing machine is. So I want to make sure that I do this right. All right. So normally I would pin that. Well, normally I would just hold it. I wouldn't. I'm going to see if I can find my little pins here. I'm going to pin it on. I folded this down about 1.5 inches to start. Some people like to cut their excess off before they pin. I don't like to do that because if for some reason you accidentally had a bunch or something in there and then you go back and pull it, rip it to fix it, then you could end up cutting yourself a piece that's, too short on the back, and that's not a good thing. So I'm just going to put a few pins in here just to kind of hold it to get it started. But then normally I hold it, but if you don't think that you can hold it steady under the machine, then pin it or, clip it. I'm going to pin it down here. And then I'm not going to pin it all the way because I'm going to show you how we're going to miter our corners there. So let's take it over to the machine. Oh, let me get flipped back over here. Sorry. Let's see. There we go. Oh, and put my mouse back over there. I'm just using a straight stitch. And the length is about 3 millimeters instead of 4. And let's see. Then we are going to get this started. So I'm going to sew 1/4 inch. All right, and I'm going to start right at the end down here. Let's see, my 1/4 inch is this line right here. So and you want to back stitch if you don't have a locking stitch. All right. And I can go slower, but and I can go much faster, but I won't go too fast for you guys because I want you guys to but I don't want to take up too much of your time either. So, because we're almost finished. Almost finished here. All right. So we're going to take this all the way down to about 1/4 inch. Actually, do we go all the way? We go about 1/4 inch, just shy, to the edge. Actually, about 1/8 inch to the edge. Okay, we're going to lift the needle, lift our foot, pull it back. That's okay if you have some excess thread. You're going to fold the fabric. This fabric is fraying. Oof. Okay, fold it downward, then fold it up so that your triangle or your fold is underneath here. So I'm going to do that again. See, it came all the way down to about 1/8 inch. Okay, we're going to pull our right side, flip it so that our right side is exposed. Okay, kind of finger press it so that you have an angle, a 90-degree angle, triangle there. All right, and then we're going to fold it so it looks like there's a square there. Then we're going to come all the way back down where we left off, about 1/8 to 1/4 inch. Okay. And then we're going to turn and keep sewing down to our next corner. So essentially what that's going to do, and I can't take it off the machine, but I will show you once all the corners are done and we get to the end, I will show you what exactly that did and how that mitered. And other people do, there are different ways to do it. Some people take it down, they cut it off, then they start over. You can do it that way, whatever way you're comfortable doing it, making that corner. This seems to work the best for me. I have tried it other ways where you come down and you cut it and then you turn it and then you do all this. I'm sorry, golly, this stuff is fraying. Whew. I don't know why this piece is fraying worse than the other. I don't know. So I'm going to get down to this other corner and show you one more time how that's done. And then I'll do the other corners, and then when I come down to the end, I will show you what you need to do to finish it off there. Okay, so coming down to just about an 8. Ooh, okay, that's okay. It's okay if you go a little farther, and it isn't going to hurt anything. Lift it, pull your thread back. Gosh, look at this, guys. I mean, it's just this piece, for some reason, is really frayed. All right, so we're going to fold it down. Fold it down so that we have an angle. We're going to finger press it. Then we're going to fold it back up. Okay. Keep some of this fabric down here. Just like that. All right, so we're going to do it one more time. So we're down, and we're going to turn it up. So our right side is exposed. Finger press that angle. And then cover that, hide that triangle. Come all the way back in, anywhere from 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch. Right there. Okay. The needle is down and holding it in place. We're going to turn it and then finish up and do the other 2 corners the same way. And when I get down to the very end, I will show you what we need to do to finish that binding edge. Come on. Okay, so we've come down to our last corner. I've already made the turn, and this is our end piece. So what we want to do is, here is the top of our end, our starting point that's folded over. Then right below it, maybe about 1/8 of an inch, is where I'm going to lay this piece, this finishing piece. Cut off your piece, just do a little diagonal cut. It can be straight up and down, but diagonal seems to work. For me, it lays better that way. So then I'm just going to come all the way down. Keeping my 1/4 inch there. Okay. And it's past there, so it doesn't matter that it's down below. That's okay. Now, if you have a back stitch, now is the time that you want to back stitch. If not, just do your finishing stitch. I'm going to have a locking and touch thread, and we are done with this portion. So let me go back over and show you how that mitered corner works. Okay, so now if you look at the corner, it's open. So when we tuck it around, we'll have a nice little diagonal mitered corner. Okay, but what we need to do first is we need to cut this so that it's right up against that seam edge. So I'm just going to take the scissors and just take my time. Just cut right down here. I'm going to cut it right against that 1/4 inch seam. That is going to keep us from having a lot of bulk there. And then I'm going to cut that end, and then this very corner here, just a smidgen, okay? That keeps that from, it'll lay nicer, when you tuck it. If you've ever done sewed corners or pointed corners, you'll know that sometimes they will flip over very nice and tuck nicer if you do that. It's kind of like when you do paper crafting too, sometimes. A little bit. remember this is where we crossed over here. And make sure that we keep it at that 1/4 inch there. We don't want too much bulk. That was my finger I almost cut off. That would not have been good at all. And then I'm going to flip it over and show you guys what we need to do. We'll iron it. It'll make it much easier to clip when we do that. So grab a couple clips, and I'm just going to kind of show you, because I'll do a lot of this over at the ironing board. But what we're going to do here is we're going to, and if you notice, this is where we started, right? It's going to be so much nicer because you're just going to tuck that piece over. So tuck it down, about a 1/4 inch, and then pull it over. You see that? So I'm starting at my finishing, my end piece. I'm going to go in, about a 1/4 inch. I'll take that iron and run that real quick. And then I will take a clip and clip it to start. Once we come around this part here, that clip will come off, and I'll redo it. So, and then we just do the same thing here. When we get to our corner, okay, we're going to kind of tuck that in and then tuck it like that so that you have a, let me do this. Can we zoom that? Let's zoom this down in here so maybe we can see a little better. So you're going to take and tuck that, all right? Finger press it. You're going to push this down and then bring this up so that you have a corner. And that's a mitered corner. And then just clip it. You can iron it and then clip it. See? And you're just going to do that all the way around. And that is your binding piece right there. And then when we sew, we will sew right here against this line in here so that it will just, we should be able to run this in the ditch on the other side. You know what I mean? So I want to flip those. But if we stitch in the ditch here, it'll pick it up on the back side here. That's why you need to make sure that when you flip it, it just barely goes over the top of that other seam line right there. See? It's not hard at all. I don't know what all this is. I don't know if it's extra thread that it picked up off the, I don't know what that is, driving me nuts though. All right, pull it out. I don't know where that came from. It's like this stuff is, it shredded or I don't know. Anyway, so I'm going to take this over to the ironing board and I'm going to iron it and tuck and lay it and pin it, and I will show you what it looks like. Ooh, did I not show? Okay. Maybe it wasn't in there. Let me do this again so you guys can see in case you didn't. So you're going to tuck this down and finger press, right? You're going to hold this right at that corner of where you turn, you know, where you turned. And then this side, flip it up so that you kind of have an angled, it's a little easier once you iron it down to get that corner. And then that corner should be a mitered, or it will have like a 90-degree angle there with that seam. Okay. And then you're going to want to make sure that, once again, this goes over this seam, because when we sew in the ditch on this side, it'll pick that up on that side. That's why we're going to clip it and make sure that it's there. Ironing it down makes it a lot easier. So I will show you that. Let me zoom out again. I'll show you everything when it's all done. Okay, so I ironed it outward so that it, it smoothed out the fabric, and then these little pieces everywhere. I'm going to have to clip all those. And then what I did was we pulled it over and then clipped it on this side, and then my corners are all mitered at that angle. So then when I sew it, you should see I'm going to sew in the ditch here, but I need to get all these little strings out of here. I don't know where these are all coming from. I don't know. So anyways, I will meet you over at the sewing machine again. Okay, so now what I want to do is start it at the bottom, because that is where our fold over is, but I'm not going to start it in the corner. I'm going to actually start it right about here. Get my needle in the ditch. Right. And do you see this? I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little notch in my foot, and it's clear so I can see where the seam goes, and that's what I'm watching, is to make sure that the ditch stays right there. So all right, so let's start. It should do a locking stitch. I'll slow that down just a bit. And this is where it's going to go over, and you're going to have a little lapse, so you just kind of try and angle it right back into the ditch again. Sometimes you're lucky enough to get it to where it'll go just perfect in there. And sometimes not. And I did press down my little corner, my mitered corners on the back, so when I take off my clip, it should stay in place there. I'm going to hold my finger there. All right, up, and turn, and then you should be able to flip it over and see that it picked up just that edge. See if I can show you guys that edge right there to keep it bound. And then you just do that all the way around and come to the end and finish it off, back stitch, or use a locking stitch if your machine has it. And then that should finish it. And then I'll take you back over to the cutting mat, and we'll take out all those little clips, and that will be that, with the exception of signing it. Okay, so we are all bound together. Okay, And if you notice on these corners as well as these, they're mitered here, and that allowed us to have it mitered there. So all we need to do now is just take a pair of scissors and snip off all of these little, just be careful when you do. Okay. Just pull it out and then snip off the top. The back, so then all you got to do is pull the back out, like so. Just like taking a clothing tag off. It's very simple. Then once I'm done with that, all I've got, I have these, they're little rings, little plastic rings. You can get them in different sizes. I think I got these at Walmart. Either that or Joann's. And all I'm going to do is take one and sew it. So one side here, and then same thing over here so that she can just hang it. You can do it in the center, but the problem with that is, you know, normally with my quilts at home, unless it's a huge quilt, I use straight pins because, believe it or not, a straight pin will hold a lot. Actually, I'm going to slip it from the other side. Hold a lot of weight. A lot of people don't realize that, but and because the hole is so small from the pinhole, that you don't have to worry, you know, I mean, obviously you can, there are different ways to hang a quilt, and it's just personal preference. Me personally, I will, I just, if it's small enough and it's not big, like a big, huge, some people hang their, you know, their bed quilts for show, especially if it's an antique one. I will not hang something that big anyways, but you can. There's different ways that you can do that. I'm sure that there's probably tons of videos, but like I said, I don't know because I don't hang my quilts that way. I just use straight pins. One in each corner. If it's a big long, I'll put one in the center. So, and I get no drooping, and I've had quilts hang on the wall. I had one hang for 13 years before we moved in one spot, and it never didn't do anything. So you know, a lot of people might say, well, you know, you're doing all these tags and using pins, that is true, but I don't like getting stuck by pins, number one. Number two, you know, it seems to me that I continuously have issues with I get a lot of puckering sometimes because I can't seem to get it laid straight. You know, some people are really good at it. I'm just not one of those people that are really good with pinning stuff like that in that many layers without causing an issue. So what is going on with this one? What is it caught on? All right, and then I just flip it. Pull out any extra ones that are here. And that's about it, guys. So, you know, just kind of want to give you guys an overall look. It's finished. Yay, yay, yay. I know my sister will be happy because she loves, she was very excited to get, that I was going to make her one. But there it is. It's oh, the joy, all finished. All I got to do, and I do use a fabric marker and pen, and I'll sign. I just initial the back with the year, and that's it. Okay, guys, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. I don't know. I think this kind of went over a little bit, and I apologize. But I just wanted to get it done. So Anyways, until next time, guys, plenty hugs, loves, and blessings. Mwah. Bye, guys.